Welcome to the Hydrogeek newsletter. So, today we'll talk about a great initiative uh, by the European Union to reduce the mining waste and water pollution due to the contamination of mining waste with the water. So, how the mining industry in Europe is coping with this type of water pollution. Uh, this is the discussion of today's post. So what happened is actually after processing of the raw product, many byproducts are generated from a mining industry. So what they do is all those byproducts and also the unused metal stocks are kept at the storehouse or uh, at a warehouse just near to the mines. Sometimes what happens is those unused material and waste materials are kept at the site itself. After that, due to rainfall, those runoff were contaminated by those unused metal stock and the byproducts of metal stock and mixes with the nearest channel, and from the channels it mixes with the river, and in this way a great amount of water is contaminated from the unused metal stock and also the waste products of the mining industry. So it's a significant problem, and also it's a long term problem that was unsolvable by not only Europe but in any continent of the world. So in the recent years, in the year of 2021 and 2021, European Union take a policy. What is that policy? The policy is they will implement the three principles of circular economy. Now, what is circular economy? Circular economy is a sustainable economic model that aims to minimize waste and maximize the use of resources, right? So, for an example, a company that produces electronics could implement a circular economy approach by designing their products with easily replaceable parts, encouraging customers to return old devices for refurbishment, and using recycled materials in the manufacturing process. This not only reduces the amount of electronic waste generated but also conserves valuable resources, right? So sometimes they are offering incentives to the customer who are returning old devices and enabling the industry to refurbish. If they are not good for refurbishment, then they are recycled. Okay, so here what happen is there are three principles of circular economy. First principle is design out waste and pollution, that is, minimize the pollution of air, land, and water, minimize the structural waste, and minimize the release of gases and hazardous substances. This is first principle, to design out waste and pollution. That means minimize waste and pollution from our industry. Next policy is keep products and materials in use. That means all the raw products that you are using to prepare an item, try to keep those products in use. How you can do it? You can design it for long duration. That means you can optimize the durability. You can reuse the product. You can remanufacture or refurbish the product. Just the example that I discussed. And also, if they are out of reuse or remanufacturing or refurbishing, then recycle it. Because sometimes it happens that the life span of the product is over. So it cannot be reused or it cannot be remanufactured or it cannot be refurbished. On that, if that is the problem, then try to recycle, dismantle, desecrate the product and try to produce something else. Okay, so examples will come later on. I will uh, compare these principles and how these principles are adopted by European Union to reduce the waste of mining industry. So I will discuss it later on. So the third policy is regenerate natural systems to avoid the use of non-renewable resources. That means the resource that is not renewable, we must avoid to use them. So how you can do it? Returning valuable nutrients to the soil to support regeneration or using renewable energies sources. What I say as non-renewable is like, for example, fossil fuel. Once it is used, it is used. It cannot be reused. Once the fuel is burnt, it is burnt. Correct? You can use the remaining oils, of course, but they are not up to that mark. So what you can do is you use electrical energy, but not from a thermal power plant, but from a hydropower plant or solar power or wind power uh, or any other renewable energy resources. Because if you use the energy produced from thermal power, you are actually using resources because mostly the thermal power are generated from what I say from coal. And once you burn that coal, you cannot use it. Yes, there are now techniques developed to reuse them. As for example, the ash, fly ash that is generated as a byproduct of that boiling of coal in a boiler of the thermal power plant, they are now used for road construction. Right? So if these are there, then it is okay. But what about the pollution? Because as per the policy, you have to minimize the pollution also. So some amount of it will be lost forever as this what I say these gases, GHGs, greenhouse gases, and all those toxic byproducts. So they are actually some part of are converted into polluting materials. So to avoid that, you simply use electricity or simply use your hydropower, electricity generated by hydropower or wind power or solar power or wave power, anything which is renewable, generated from renewable sources. Right? So these are the three policies. So first one is design out waste and pollution, try to minimize it. Second one is keep the raw products and raw materials in use as much as you can. And third one is regenerate natural systems to avoid the use of non-renewable resources. So the main part of the circular economy is remove waste and pollution, reduce the use of non-renewables, and try to keep the raw materials in use. So these are the three main principles of circular economy. Now, how European Union is implementing these three principles of circular economy in the mining industry? Let us see. First, design out waste and pollution. How they are designing out the waste and pollution? They are reusing and recycling the legacy metal stock, that means unused metal stock, which in turn reduces the water pollution caused by contamination from those unused metals. I already discussed that, right? So they are trying to reuse those unused metal stock and try to decrease the amount of unused metals in their locations. And if they can reduce those amount of unused metals, then contamination cannot occur. So water pollution will reduce. Right. Second point, how they are doing, keep products and materials in use. So they are repurposing unused inventory and utilizing the wastewater generated during the repurposing process, which can effectively minimize waste and also ensure the continual circulation of raw materials. So what they are doing is again they are repurposing unused inventory, and the chemical reaction is producing some water, which they are again reusing in the same manufacturing process, because in metal industry water is a raw material. So they are replacing the new water with this uh, recycled water, I would say. That means the water which has been generated due to the repurposing of the unused inventory. Third is regenerate natural systems to avoid the use of non-renewable resources. How they're doing it? They are implementing metal reprocessing, and the wastewater that is generated as a byproduct that is being recycled also with the help of renewable electricity sources. That in turn is balancing the economy and the environment. So whatever metal they are reprocessing and whatever wastewater that was generated for reprocessing that unused metals, they are recycling it. That just now I have told you in the second policy. So they are recycling that wastewater with the help of renewable electricity sources, not by non-renewable electricity sources. As you know, to convert wastewater to fresh water or utilizable water, you need electricity. If you are using that reverse osmosis process to convert the water to wastewater to fresh water. So that electricity, if you use the electricity generated from solar energy, so that will do what? It will not increase the load on the conventional electricity, that means our thermal power plants. So thereby, it will reduce the use of coal, and that in turn will reduce the amount of GHGs generated by that thermal power plant. So they are maintaining the environment. And as you know, solar energy is free of cost. So no extra expenditure is required to recycle the wastewater. So they are minimizing the expenditure also. So they are balancing the economy and the environment. So this implementation of circular economy in the mining industry by European Union, as reported in the paper authored by Francoise et al., uh, it shows that how you can implement circular economy in the mining industry also to reduce pollution, to reduce the or to balance the economy and the environment, to reduce the use of non-renewable resources and make it a really sustainable process, which is less polluting, which is less, which is economically viable and environmentally sustainable, right? So this is a fine example of how circular economy can be utilized in mining industry to reduce the waste from the mining industry, to reduce the pollution generated from the mining industry, and how the same materials can be reused, repurposed, and reused to generate more byproducts, yeah, and also how we can regenerate the natural systems and avoid using non-renewable resources. The perfect example is here where European Union is implementing circular economy in the mining industry. Thank you, and if you like this post, then kindly subscribe to Hydrogeek and also to my YouTube channel, and you will receive regular feeds of such informative and enlightening speeches or articles. Thank you and goodbye for now. Welcome to the Hydrogeek newsletter. So, today we'll talk about